I'm Frederick Curtin, and I'm the filmmaker.
And I'm Leilani Farha, and I'm the advocate.
And we are together Pushback Talks. How many years we've been doing this now, Leilani?
5.
5
1,
years.
2, 3, 4, 5.
It's a kind of a cool thing, and we've been publishing a lot of episodes during these 5 years, and with the ambition to meet inspirational people and, together try to understand the world. And also to see that there is a lot of pushback happening around the world.
A lot. Yeah. It's been an amazing run, actually. And we've had amazing guests.
Yeah.
From, when you think about it, all different kinds of guests. The only thing I would say, Frederick, we haven't had enough artists.
Oh, you need...
Yes, we need a few more artists.
Okay, let's bring on the artists.
Yeah.
And we do this... because we get energy out of it, energy out of understanding and listening to people, and I think that's we all need to keep our minds going. So for this summer, we're going to have a very special version of Pushback Talks, and we just found out that the label, we will call them word food, or you could call it wordly word food. So I will give you a word, Leilani, and then you have to elaborate. And you might kick me one. And then we do it kind of short, 10 minutes episodes. What do you say about that?
I like the idea. Let's see if we can manage. Okay. I think it's fun. Word, food. We will get sustenance from words. We will give people sustenance from our words and thoughts.
Are you ready?
I think so.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Leilani, hope.
You're making me stressed. The countdown and then this big word, hope. I hear a lot of people using this term right now because the world is in such a critical position, whether it's the wars that are being waged, whether it's climate change. There's a lot of people are saying, well, we've got to have hope. And I actually don't like the word. I find it thin. I'm an advocate, and I can't rest on hope. I mean, that's not going to make change. That's not going to make the world a better place. I need action, strategy, law, movements.
But in all what you are mentioning now, there is hope. I see hope in action. I see hope in when people are doing something, when people gather together, when you do stuff together with your neighbors to improve your neighborhood. I mean, I think for me, hope is really important. And I think also in my work, I try always to look for hope, for light. We can call it light.
Light, yeah.
And because it's very easy to go down that dark alley, everything is going to hell. And right now, in the time of the Trumpists take over around the world, of course, it's very easy to look away from hope. So I think it's actually, that's why I think this word is extra important right now.
Interesting. So, I suppose when I wake up in the morning and I willingly, and sometimes with quite a bit of energy, go to my desk to do my work, I suppose there's a kind of, I don't know if it's hope. I think it's a possibility for a better world. I think it's opportunity. I'm always looking, what are the opportunities to make change? What are the doors I can walk through or break down to make change? So I guess it is a kind of hope, but it's just, there's something about that word. I don't know.
I think what we are doing in this podcast and what I do in my work and you in your work is like we're looking for ways to move things. And I think, and we do that here by trying to understand, learn more about stuff. And I think that knowledge gives us hope, to understand the complexity of things. That's hopeful too, because understanding is also a tool in itself. And I think that the language is also, we have now a word summer here, wordly summer. So it's, if we find the correct language, and I think what you did in the film Push is that you kind of went through with your message that housing is a human right. I mean, that language was so important. That's hopeful in itself to formulate something that travels. So that's hope for me. Okay. Now you have to turn it around because we're going to do you have any words for me?
I do have a word for you, Frederick. Bananas.
Bananas. Oh, that yellow little pesticide-fueled little fruit. Oh, it's like the banana republics. It was the Americans going down to Central America, stealing people's land, and then they have this banana disease that came after, so they have to move the plantations all the time. And in the end, they were chopping down rainforest. That's bananas. But then, of course, the world is also bananas. And when I did the film Bananas, which is now, it premiered in 2009, so it's quite a few years ago, the word bananas, I played with that, the double meaning of it. And I think that's what we should do also with words, like to play a bit. And then, when I got sued by Dole Food Company, one of the biggest the biggest fruit company on the planet, but they have 25% of the world market of bananas. They sued us, and then I made this film called Big Boys Gone Bananas, and of course the big boys are then Dole, the big corporations. Yeah. And I mean, I told you there's the same group of lawyers that sued us for bananas are now suing Greenpeace up in Dakota. So it's we were kind of close to the real big evil on this planet.
Big Boys Gone Bananas.
Yeah.
One of the all-time best titles of any film, in my opinion. I love that title. Yeah. For me, bananas. So interesting, bananas. I mean, bananas are something at least in my culture, you eat if you have an upset stomach. If you're traveling and you get, some stomach problem, you eat a banana, and it's sort of, it's like a cure. And then bananas, like as a child growing up, I ate peanut butter and banana sandwiches all the time. I loved it, like a staple. It's like this sort of basic thing. And then there's this history of bananas that you have tapped into.
And destroying your appetite.
Exactly. It's kind of like very...
Bananas is the most popular fruit on the planet.
Yeah.
And in every supermarket, it's 1% of the turnaround in Canada, in Sweden, and everywhere. You know, it's a staple. Yeah. So it's extremely popular and extremely rentable. Yeah. And of course, it's extremely produced in an unsustainable way for the planet and for the workers. Because to be able to produce in the way they do, they need a lot of pesticide and fungicides and insecticides and you name it. And the earth is destroyed forever. So it's not sustainable, and we shouldn't eat it because then we contribute to oppression and destroying the planet. So if you should go for bananas, it should be fair trade produced. Yes.
Well, and you've changed my life, my family's life with your film, because now we have to search for those fair trade bananas, which do exist in my city. We can get them, but not at every store. So we have to be very selective in where we buy our bananas, but we only buy fair trade in our household thanks to you. Of course, we're probably contributing to climate change if we're driving around looking for them, but we don't. We ride our bikes. That'll be for the next, our next word food. Yeah. Bikes.
Let's see. So I think this was like the first episode of our word food, and I like it.
I like it too.
Yeah, and Pushback Talks will be back already next week because this is now something we will roll all over the summer. Thank you, and follow us on social media on Blue Sky. It's Pushback Talks on so-called Twitter, or ex-Twitter. It's Push the Film, same on Facebook. You can also write straight to Leilani on your social media.
Correct.
With suggestions of words we should play with. See you soon.
Bye, Frederick.
Bye.
Here's my word for you, Frederick. Human.
Human. Human scale? I like that. To build a city for people, not for cars. I like that. Human scale. Human rights, that I think should be for all humans, not only for people from a special race or religion or so. I think that's a good thing. And I think that's a problem we have on the planet. And I think a lot of people are right now understanding that human rights are not for all. I mean, I think that's what happened now in the US with all the protests against ICE. Because you have politicians that, to make political points, are destroying people's lives happily, just locking up people and, creating so much sadness for human families.
I'm going to stop you there. You said human families, and that's what I was thinking when I came up with the word human, because the Universal Declaration of Human Rights says right at the beginning that we are all part of the human family, and as such, we all have inalienable rights. In other words, rights attached to us because of our being human, and we're all part of one family. Sure doesn't feel like that right now. It seems like some people are part of the human family with rights, and some people are exceptions, unfortunately.
Yeah. I had a coffee this morning and a friend, and we talked about Israel's attack on Iran, and of course then he said we can't repeat the Israeli talking points that the Iranians don't have the right to have weapons. I mean, because the Israelis already have nuclear weapons, so
Exactly.
It's like, is it only dark-skinned people who don't have the right to have guns? It's like it is this balance is coming back and forth all the time, and I think we should keep focus. And I just wrote a little story in a Swedish newspaper about Greta Thunberg, who is a great human.
She is.
But she is like, I mean, she's now 22, but she came out saying, listen to science, about the climate change. And now when she turned herself into a Palestine activist, she says, listen to international law, follow international law. It's very simple messages and it's very human. So,
Yes.
and that's also language. We talk about language in our podcast. Greta is good with language, to formulate something that we can all, stand behind.
Yeah, she's excellent. She's excellent. And she makes this beautiful connection and says, unless we follow international law, we won't have a healthy planet. We won't save the planet, and we won't save Palestinians. And she's just making these connections.
Okay.
The human family.
So I have to turn something back to you then.
You do.
And then will actually be 3 words in one.
Uh-oh.
Walk the dog.
I do it every morning.
You do it every morning,
Except when I'm traveling, which I am right now. Then I walk my sister's dog, but not every morning. Walk the dog. That is what I do every morning, except Sundays. No, except Saturdays, excuse me. My dog is Bean, and it is my moment to reflect on the world. I try not to be on my phone. I try to walk in the forest and by the river and connect with the planet and remind myself that the world can be okay. It's very grounding for me. I often look up at the sky and the treetops. Yeah, that's what I do when I walk the dog.
Good. That's nice. I thought you were going to say that Netanyahu is walking the dog with Trump, or the Epstein files actually was, Mossad putting pressure on also walking the dog with Americans. But okay, but it's good.
I took it very literally, my friend. Very
I like
literally.
that. I like that. I think we should all walk our inner dog. We should get out and just listen.
Walk out the dog.
Listen to the sounds of the nature, of the wind and the trees and the birds. And maybe I am close to the sea, Listen to the waves touching the shore. I think that's important also for an advocate and a filmmaker.
Yeah.
We also need to just listen to life and to walk our inner dog.
Yeah. I'll say one more thing. It is an obligation. I have to walk the dog. If I don't walk the dog, there will be a mess in the house. And no one else walks the dog in the morning. So it is an obligation. And so I made it sound a little healthier or something. There's always two sides to something. I mean, I often resent it's minus 20 in the winter and I have to walk the dog. So there is that side to it. But no matter what, even though it can be an obligation, once I'm out the door and I'm down the path, it always feels great.
But that's like fighting back, Fighting back is something you have to do. And when you do it, you feel better.
That's right.
We push back, Leilani. And that's why we do this podcast. See you soon.
2 more words.
2 more words. Bye. The word of the week, or the words of the week, is ROI, return on investment.
ROI.
Yeah.
Not Y.
I said I.
Oh,
I'm Swedish.
okay.
Come on. Don't expect me to be perfect in your
Swedish.
English.
In my English. Return on investment rules the day. That is how our whole world seems to be structured, where business interests and the interests of finance and investors and their return on investment is what government policies and programs support. And it is how our entire world, almost every sector, is constructed, whether it's the housing sector, the health industry, education, I'm sure in the arts. And it's really, in my opinion, ruining our world.
Yeah.
Because it means that we're not thinking about other things like people and human well-being and the planet and the boundaries of the planet, what the planet can withstand. It's all extraction, extraction, extraction. And for who? Just a very few, mostly white men.
Yeah. I think also, sometimes I think of the meaning of the definition of the word investment, because you invest a lot into your work. I invest a lot into my work. So that's kind of in some way positive investment, but we are also in a society where that kind of human investments are not valued. So it's only money investment that counts, not the other kind of efforts that we do for a better society. And I think that's the balance that is also brings everything down, because a lot of these investments that we see in the housing markets are now actually not making anything better. They don't even produce anything. They just make stuff more expensive. So it's now we landed in a situation where we pay tax to investors, because in every cup of coffee we buy, everything we do, we have to pay to them. And they are all the time looking for the next place to put their money. Of course, now they will put a lot of money into the war machine because that's where the money is,
Exactly.
So again, it's not that productive. But
No. The one thing I will say is when I think of the term return on investment, I do think there is an opportunity there to have that conversation that you just started around, well, there are different kinds of returns. So you can have a financial return, but you can also have a well-being return. And in my world, we've, started to talk about human rights outcomes. So economies that produce human rights outcomes. So the return on investment would be the fulfillment of human rights or the enjoyment of human rights. And so there's a way in which we can play with this idea of ROI in my world. And that's what I've been trying to do recently.
I think you can also think about love and love investment. You do good stuff and you get something in return. I mean, that's how we should see the world, isn't it? Love the return of investment. Now you have to push me a word, baby.
Okay, I'm going to give you a word. Oh my gosh. Savior.
Savior. Leilani, I would say that you are my savior some days. Because, you feel grinded down by work or of challenges to fund the films, which has become increasingly so tough. I just heard now that the House of Representatives in the US want to close down the public broadcasting system. Everything down. All
like NPR kind of thing?
Yeah, everything. No, all the money from the federal level.
Wow.
So, but you are my savior, but it's tough. We in tough times, So we need saviors, and we need this kind of inspiration. I'm always come back to inspiration. The people who save me are the people who inspire me, and to make my brain go kind of bright again. It's like because you can feel grinded down, and you have that for me, and I think also the podcast gives that to me, some kind of brightness. I feel that I have to kind of push myself a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's interesting that sometimes I feel lazy, but whenever I push myself, I also feel a bit lighter. And so you are my savior. That's my only...
That's amazing.
You are my savior.
I'm happy to play that role, sure.
Yeah.
I have the other side. I keep doing this flip, the other side of savior. One of the things in my world, my advocacy world around housing, is the very actors who've caused this crisis of affordability and homelessness and just precarious housing conditions and living conditions. Those very actors, the private equity firms, developers, pension funds, they want to act like they are also the solution to the crisis, the saviors. They're going to swoop in and build, and save us all.
Just talking points. Talking points.
Exactly. False saviors.
They are fake saviors.
Fake saviors.
Let's fuck the fake saviors.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for today. That was 2 more words. Next week.
2 more.
2 more.
Ready? Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. Oh, it's a film monster, isn't it?
It's
like some kind
and
of...
a book. It was a book.
And a book, and a fictional character.
Yeah.
Is he a good guy or a bad guy? Maybe just a misunderstood personality, or is Trump a Frankenstein,
or is Netanyahu a Frankenstein?
Or Elon Musk.
I think the thing about Frankenstein is, not to interrupt, but it was a monster that was created, right?
Yeah.
By the scientists. So have we created Has the world created some monsters? Fed, like I would say, the U.S. has fed the monster that now is a genocidal state, right? I mean, the U.S. has, especially the U.S., other states as well, in Europe, I suppose, but really supported Israel, supported them, and now look at where we've landed. They're bombing Iran.
Yeah, and in some way, even for people who love Israel, can see how Israel is losing itself in this new extreme identity. I mean, my younger brother, now late, he went as young to work in a kibbutz in Israel, and a lot of people did, because there was like something really communal and cool going on. We also know that was also on the land of people who were pushed out. So it was, of course, already then complicated, but there was at least a different dream and a different kind of identity, which seems to be totally gone now. It's almost erased. And maybe that was a part of it in the end, that there was no other way to go.
Well, when you build a dream on the necks of other people.
Yeah. That's probably what happens when you do stuff in laboratories like that,
Exactly.
But of course, you could also think about the algorithms as some kind of modern Frankenstein machine, because they are also been spreading hatred and division and given strength to the haters, which I think is very scary. And now we have, we have Trump and we have Musk and all these people who are bluntly evil.
Yes.
Bluntly evil, happily evil all the time. And it's kind of, it's strange to see that it pays off to be so evil and enjoying to just smash people's lives.
It's the normalization of evil.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that's what they're trying to do, and they're getting their way. They're getting their way. I have to say, before you throw a word at me, that the word Frankenstein in my analysis came from a post I saw on Instagram from a colleague of mine, former from the UN, Craig McIver. I have to give due credit.
That's fine. Okay, I give you a word.
Okay.
Wine. And I'm not talking about crying and complaining.
I know what kind of wine you're talking about. W-I-N-E, red, white, or rosé.
Yeah. What's your favorite grape?
So, the sad truth. Now for me, I have a nostalgia around wine because I no longer drink wine or any alcohol, actually. Yeah, it was disrupting my sleep. And so I had to choose. I was choosing and I chose sleep over wine.
That's sad
truth.
to hear. Because the listeners should know that, we, for some years, we traveled a lot together to many places when we shot the film, and then when we launched the film, and since the pandemic, we haven't met many times.
No.
So I couldn't really check on that.
But we have shared many a glass of wine.
Yeah, I think it's a great relief, especially when it's good and produced in an ethical way.
Absolutely.
And
Sauvignon Blanc was my wine of choice.
So
and you know what? Now you say, I can remember when I was on a mission, when I was UN Special Rapporteur, a very difficult mission, and it's quite relevant today. It was to Egypt. And some very difficult things happened while I was there. I was detained on the side of the road.
I remember you texted me while you were in.
I remember that. Yeah,
it was very intense.
Very intense. And now we see what Egypt is doing with some of these people who are going on the march to Gaza. They're arresting some of the Algerians and et cetera. It's typical behavior from that state. But I will not forget the wine I had in the evenings on that mission. And it was a savior of some kind. It just brought me down, made me able to breathe a little bit, and try to figure out how I was going to conduct a mission to help people in Egypt who are suffering this oppression in the area of housing in particular.
I put the word there because I
Wine.
think if we always talk about tough things and all that, we're all into change the world, fight back. And I think, okay, come on, let's relax. There is also beauty. And for me, wine is a part of the beauty of the world. There are, of course, many other beauties also. But I mean, so I just wanted to put some beauty into
And
our
also the
little-
bringing, like I've shared wine with you, with many colleagues, friends, and it's like a coming together, So it's lovely. Yeah.
So here's to wine.
Here's to wine. Cheers.
Cheers. Here's a word for you, Leilani, the social contract.
That's 2 words. And my reply in an instant is the social contract is dead. Okay.
Did it ever exist? It existed in our minds, of course. But
It existed in our minds. It's such a good question. Did it ever exist? My entire career was based on some idea that the social contract was something other people believed in and that governments had committed to when they signed international law and these treaties that say everyone should have adequate housing, food, water and sanitation, health, education, cultural rights. Rights around employment, of course, the ability to unionize, organize. To me, that was all about the social contract. And, almost all of the world's governments have signed that treaty that contains all of those things. So I used to believe that. And now, we're in this place, this horrible place right now where it's clear international law is meaningless. Governments never intended, I don't think, to hold themselves accountable. And they certainly aren't holding themselves accountable now. And so I don't know where we're at. But I do know that people want the social contract.
Yeah,
and they are demanding it.
I made my latest film, Breaking Social, is about breaking of the social contract. So I've been thinking a lot about it, especially because I think the meaning of the social contract is in all of us, this kind of, we want to be good, we want to be responsible for our community, and we don't like when people are too pushy or too egoistic. So it's in us as human beings to do good together. But obviously it became really hard, and we have a society that is rewarding the people who break the social contract. And of course, now when we have the fascists in governments around the world who happily break it and are proud of breaking the social contract, of course it will be very hard. But I still think that a part of our resistance need to be to stand by values. I think our values are part of our defense. So when they go low, we still have to go high. We can't go low with them. I think kind of a leftist populism is it's not so fun, Sometimes you can communicate in a good way, but I think it's wrong. I think we have to kind of stand up for moral values, human rights, and for some kind of social contract.
I agree with that. And I don't think there's any other path. I mean, what's the alternative to just abandon values? What I do think, though, Frederick, is on the left, if you want to use that language, which we tend not to use, but progressives, let's say, whatever, we're not so good at packaging it, selling it, and making it a requirement. So we have to do better at putting those values as the way forward. And I mean, it's so awful for people and our young people. You and I both have young, kids and, young adults, I guess. And, they will do everything right. they get their education, they're doing internships, they're doing this, there's summer jobs, etc. And at the end of it, they may not have a home they can afford. They may not have a decent job. They won't have a pension. They won't be unionized, etc. So,
but values. Leilani,
Values.
you have to push it to me.
I'm going to give you a word. It's a big word. It's a small word, but it's a big word. Are you ready for it?
No. Yes.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The word is media.
Media. Oh, it sounds like somebody who's reading tarot cards in a little shop in Ottawa. Is that a media? Who can foresee the future? Your card looks like, you might be getting laid tonight, or I don't know. Media. Oh, you mean you're talking about mass media? You're talking about
Possibly.
journalists and stuff.
And stuff.
Oh, yeah. You know, I was a journalist. I worked as a journalist for many years, and I have a deep respect for journalism. It's always been crappy journalism, commercial journalism. I mean, so it's not that everything is heroic, but I think when media and journalists are doing the job well, they are trying to see the cracks on the wall and to say, hey, there's something wrong here. So society can fix it. You know, it's a function of democracy that is needed.
Yes.
And I think one of the biggest crises right now is the death of the local media, which is happening all over the world. And in the US, I think almost all the small newspapers, city newspapers, has gone, which means that what I see from the US is that people don't even vote locally anymore. You know, so it's kind of a very important part of democracy goes away, because democracy has to come from the local level, I think, and up.
Yeah.
It's not only about electing a president or a prime minister. It's also about who is ruling your city and in what direction your city is going. So I think we need to kind of reinvent the local media, the local journalism. I think that's really important. But of course, also, we take it the other way around. The local journalism in Gaza has been extremely important. So important that Israel has started to target the journalists. And now I saw a post saying that there are more killed journalists in Gaza than in the First World War, Second World War, the Vietnam War, the Afghanistan War. I think more dead journalists in Gaza. It's very hard to comprehend.
Yeah.
But it tells you something about the power of storytelling.
Mm-hmm. The power of truth.
The power of truth, and it's... I mean, you can imagine if the Jews in the time of Hitler had social media and could broadcast from the ghetto of Warsaw and from all the other places where the horrible things happened.
Yeah.
Would that have changed the course of history? Hopefully.
Hasn't changed it.
No.
I wouldn't say that, actually. I wouldn't say that it hasn't changed anything. It hasn't changed the reality for people in Gaza. All of this, you know, it's what Motaz Azeza, the very famous photographer and journalist, he became a journalist because of what's happening in Gaza. It's what he said, like, I showed everything in the first few months. I showed everything, and it made no difference. But it isn't totally true. No. I mean, people around the world have awakened to what's happening in Gaza and what's happening to Palestinians in a new way. I mean, it is phenomenal, and millions of people, probably billions, have protested, etc. The one thing that, when I think of media, I mean, in my work, human rights, we say, is an accountability. It's about accountability. It's about the accountability of states, and I've always interacted with media that way as well. That media can hold governments accountable to things like human rights. And I've worked very closely with journalists. I've always tried to And not just so that like I can be in the limelight, rather educating them about the financialization of housing, trying to explain to them what the human right to housing means. I am very disappointed in mainstream media since Gaza has unfolded and the deep bias in some of the media outlets that I would normally have relied on for accountability. In my own country, for example, every media is biased, but the Globe and Mail, our kind of national newspaper, the CBC, all of the mainstream channels, the BBC in the UK has come under complete fire. So many, the New York Times.
Can I add something here? I told you in an earlier episode that we were sued by Dole Food Company for a film called Bananas. And when I was under attack, the media has an easy way to handle things. Is they say this side and the other side, you know? It's like they call it balance because then they don't really have to go deep.
Yeah.
They can stay on the surface and they can say, okay, the authorities in Gaza said 100 kids killed, and then Israel says there was a Hamas fighter in the crowd, or we will investigate, whatever. You know, it's a very easy way of just balancing. And you know, when I was sued, it was a small company in Sweden against the biggest fruit company in the world. It's not an even, says Frederick, says Dole.
Yeah.
But that's how it was treated. And I think that's, the media has to go deeper, you know, and just, and also emotionally say, okay, what is happening here? Who is the big guy?
Yeah.
And who is the small guy? Who is David and who's Goliath? And I think the laziness of many journalists, and of course, also in the time of political messaging, of talking points, it's very easy to get lost because the talking points sent out are done by really smart people. Yeah. So just by repeating the talking points from the powerful, you're already then doing a shitty job.
Yeah.
That's my take.
Yeah. Journalists are also very poorly paid. So that contributes to that kind of what we might call laziness. And a lot of journalists are told what they can and cannot say by the powers that be, especially in the big mainstream media.
Yeah, that's how it is. But we love journalists and keep it up, colleagues and friends, and support good journalists and give them love because they also need it.
And we need the truth.
We need the truth.
The word for you today, Frederick, is growth.
Growth. Growth is something that people with power talk a lot about. And also people on the left, they talk about, they don't like growth. So growth is something that people talk a lot about. I think the definition of growth is much more important. We measure growth in GDP. And what I read is that the guy who kind of created GDP measurement,
the concept, right?
The concept, he didn't include the financial industries in GDP. So now a lot of growth happens within this bubble that is the financial, industries and investments. So is that growth at all? I mean, if the house in front of me on the street here where I'm in Malmö, if that suddenly is worth $10 million more than it was 10 years ago, is that really growth? I don't think so, because it's not productive growth. So I think growth can be nice and good for a society because it creates more jobs. But I think we should, if we need growth, we should give more money to theaters, to actors, to musicians, and because it's also sustainable growth, to art, to plant more trees. You know, that could be a very good way of measuring growth instead of measuring the financial bubble all the time. I think it's fake growth, the financial bubble. What do you think? You had a thought when you pushed it to me.
I definitely think financial growth, and certainly in my area of work, the constantly increasing so-called value of homes and property is fake and certainly not productive. It's fiction. It's a complete fiction, and it doesn't give anything back to society at all. It enriches a few and impoverishes many, and it doesn't even lead to like more money circulating in the economy. So the thing that I find amazing is how it's just taken for granted that economic growth is a good thing, and it's what every nation should be striving for. And I don't necessarily disagree that some economic growth is good if it's benefiting human potential, human capacity, human well-being, right? If that's what it's producing. But so often you'll see countries with this, 5% GDP growth, but they're not making a dent in homelessness, in poverty. In fact, all of those things are going up.
And I think also growth has been sold as something we need because the population is also growing.
Yeah.
So now we're in a point in history where it seems like population is actually not growing anymore in many of our countries.
Right.
So that will be also interesting to see, can we now redefine growth in that sense? I think it is interesting.
Oh, well, there's a big degrowth movement, which is controversial as I understand it. But, and in my world, like everyone talks about building more housing, that we're going to solve the housing crisis, build more housing. The degrowth people would say, do we really need to build more housing? Maybe we need to use what we have already first. Let's try that first. It's interesting.
I sympathize a lot with those thoughts. And I think the degrowth movement are hitting some very important things.
Maybe we should have our home values go down.
Yeah.
Degrowth.
And that's because, remember when we followed the plebiscite in Berlin about, nationalizing or socializing a big part of the housing stock in Berlin, they wanted to take off 10 years speculative growth on it. And I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
That because it's not been productive. It's not been productive growth.
Yeah.
So I think you should talk about growth, but also talk about what the fuck is growth.
I'm good with that. What the fuck is growth? Okay.
What the fuck is growth? I will give you a word, Leilani. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Summer.
Summer. Summer is here. Summer, for a Canadian, summer is everything.
Also for a Swede, my
we
friend.
wait, for a Swede too. We wait all year for summer. Yeah, summer is so lovely. I have to say, I have so much trouble really doing hard work when it's beautiful summer days. It does give me, maybe summer gives me hope. In one of our previous episodes, I said I didn't like the word hope. But it's so bountiful, all the flowers blooming, everything coming to life again. I love steamy weather, and where I live, it gets very hot in the summer and humid, and I quite like that. Yeah, summer makes me happy. I'm smiling.
Could you say that summer is contra-revolutionary? that people in the summer don't really have energy for protests and...
I don't know about that because it's so much easier to go to a protest if you don't have to bundle up in your winter coat and your hat and your mitts and stand in the cold. No, I always figured that it's the countries that have better climates that have better social movements because they can go out on the street so easily.
Good.
Yeah.
So summer is a good time for protests, friends.
Except people go away.
You see, it's like
that's the problem.
You want to hang out with your family, your friends, I would like to drink wine and some coffees.
For me, swimming in the lake. Oh, it's so nice. Lake water
I bike
is the
down
best.
to the sea here and go for a quick dip after
Nice.
hours in the editing. Well, summer is good. And also here in the north, summer also means the double length of daytime.
Crazy.
So it's light. And light gives energy.
Yes.
I think it's really, really cool. And of course, that's the opposite is winter then when the day is kind of over before it starts, which is tough, I think. So I gave you a love word to end.
That's right. Summer. It's so nice. Yes.
Yeah, we can sing the summertime songs and
I spend a lot of time in my garden, which is also so meditative.
I've never been. You never invited me to your home.
That is not true. We filmed part of Push in Ottawa, and you chose not to come. Now, it wasn't summer. It was winter, and we filmed outdoors. But I love to go to my garden in the summer. In the early morning, I wake up before anyone else in my house, and sometimes I'll just go back to the garden and check on my plants, see how everything is doing, see if things are growing.
Actually, I'm going with my neighbors this weekend to buy plants to our courtyard.
Oh, nice.
And we live in the center of Malmö, but the neighbors together, we are pushing the landlord, which is the city-owned landlord, so they gave us, okay, you go and buy plants and then you send us the bill. So we had
Amazing.
Yeah,
a community garden.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very small space, but we will still make it more beautiful, and we will do it, and we will decide the plants we want. Yeah.
Oh, have fun.
So that's summer.
That's my favorite thing, going to buy plants. I buy a lot of plants every year, and I kill a lot too, but I do grow some too. And my favorite, I just planted, in fact, before coming on this trip, I just planted my Lebanese mint. Very important for me, for my fattoush salads, my, various things. And I planted a little bit of basil. I planted some cherry tomatoes. Getting ready.
Good. Mm-hmm. So enjoy your summer, Leilani, and talk next week.
We will. So if you like our podcast, you have to let us know. Please send us comments, rate us. I think that helps promote the podcast. Tell your friends about us. We need more listeners, and we need a little bit of love too. Love can come in the form of money. If you want to give us a little money every month, you can go to patreon.com, look for Pushback Talks. Every euro, every pound, every dollar buys Frederick a cortado. No, it helps us produce the podcast. Otherwise,
that's great.
We do it for free.
Good. See you soon.
Bye, Frederick.
Bye.
Pushback Talks is produced by WG Film. To support the podcast, become a patron by going to patreon.com/pushbacktalks. Follow us on social media at make_the_shift and push_the_film. Or check out our websites, maketheshift.org, pushthefilm.com, or breakingsocialfilm.com.